About a year ago, a little over a year ago, I was at my home, and the house next door to us became vacant. And what happened thereon was a very interesting story, which led to where we're at today on the stage. The house next door became foreclosed, and what happened is a couple weeks later, someone moved in, and we figured maybe the landlord or the bank who owned the house now actually had someone else move in and is paying rent. And then soon after that, we realized, no, they're actually not paying rent, and they're squatting. Furthermore, they're doing clearly illegal things right next door to where we live, and this is where my kids and my wife live, and as well. And so here I am in this position thinking, now what do we do with this? Like I'm working in San Francisco at the time, living in Reno, Nevada, and commuting, and trying to figure out, I'm leaving in 2 days to work again, and we contacted law enforcement. They say, well, let us know when they're back. They come at weird times of the day and night, and we'll take care of it. So I'm thinking, okay, I can go over to the window every 5 minutes and check to see when they're there, or being the geek that I am, there's got to be some piece of technology here that I can actually automate this. So I pull out Arduino Uno, of course, because that's the first thing I go to when I think about things like this. I have a passive infrared sensor. I have a Wi-Fi shield, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to have this thing tweet me whenever someone walks by this fence. It just so happened that the fence between our houses had this knot hole about this big, which is just about the same size as a passive infrared sensor. So I was able to jimmy up a bunch of brackets, and I got there, brought over the extension cord, plugged it in. And for that weekend before I left, I'm hacking network protocol code. I'm trying to get my code to actually post to the Twitter API. And I'm thinking in my mind, it's 2012, and we're still doing this. Like, why am I writing this right now? This is silly. And so what we started doing at that point is, long story short, the squatters are gone now. So one way or another, the technology took care of it. But what we ran into in that point is that what can we build with this? This is actually interesting. We started talking to people like, there's a problem here. Arduino has done such a fantastic job of bringing electronics, hardware, to people who are perhaps not electrical engineers or software engineers. They brought it there, but it's like there's this last mile of like getting to the web and connecting the things together that wasn't done yet. Like, what can we help build in this situation, in this pain point that we had, that can help other people actually have this platform all the way up to the web, what we call the last mile, even the last inch, from physical to the virtual. And so we realized at that point that we were actually talking more about a platform at this point than a product. Like, are we going to go and make like a squatter sensor, vertical and kickstart it? No, there's something bigger here. So what we ended up doing is stepping back for a second and talking about how to do this correctly, how to take the best things that we learned from the web and from what Arduino and some other companies have done and extend, kind of push the state of the art forward a little bit. So this is, here we go. This is Pinocchio. This is where we landed today. So this is a wireless, battery-powered microcontroller, Arduino compatible, but has a mesh radio. You can see the little chip antenna on the front there. This particular picture has a Wi-Fi module as well, so it bridges up to the web. And we are super excited about it because it's really bringing networked aspects of what we loved about Arduino and these other platforms to now, to all the projects we wanted to do, but we were hacking network protocol code. Hand off to you.
All right, so I stood up to get mic'd, and I apparently sat in coffee, and I was freaking out, and now I'm trying to not get the giggles because it's perfect. I have a way of like spilling things on myself at critical moments in my life. So there you go. Stay away from row 2 aisle seat. Okay, so yeah, we had this hypothesis we were forming. We're having a hard time connecting hardware to the web. We had this hunch that other people are wrestling with the same issue, but we didn't want to create a solution in search, solution in search of a problem. So Eric and I both come from the web, and we want to apply a lot of the methodologies that we use in web-based product development in this world of hardware hacking and the Internet of Things. So is this a scratch your own itch project? Is it a product? Is it a business? Like, these were some of the questions that we had about a year ago when Eric attended the same conference. I think he probably met some of you here. He had a folded up sheet of paper with an eagle schematic printed on it. We tried to find it to bring back, but we couldn't find it. Let's see. So applying methods that we learned from the web. What does that mean? For any designers out there, whoosh, come on. Are there any designers here? Are there any user experience designers? There's some. There's some.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So you guys have seen these slides 1,000 times at every design conference. Desire lines. So architects do their best, job of trying to predict what the usage patterns are going to be in a space like this and create sidewalks, often at 90-degree angles. And the first thing that you see in a square plot of land is a desire line, one of these worn-out paths of grass at a 45-degree angle through the middle of the plot. There's some right outside of this space. And what does that show us? It's like a hack in a way. It's a workaround. It's showing that a need's not being met, and there's an actual pattern of usage or behavior that's different from what the original intention was. Pave the cowpaths. So that's what we call that in software development. These paths emerge, people are showing you how they want to use a product, and then from there you can start to build a rich feature set around what you've observed to be the actual usage patterns. We went to conferences like this one. I think in September we went to the open source hardware workshop in New York, and we talked to makers. We wanted to find out, do people in fact want to connect their hardware to the web as we thought? What tools are they using right now to try to do this? Where are they getting stuck? Where are their problems? Where are their hacks? Where are their workarounds? Trying to find those cowpaths that we can pave. And I think what we found was, for nerds like us, they did want to connect their projects to the web. And I think a big part of what we're trying to do with Pinoccio is just to infuse that in the platform from the beginning. So you take the board out of the box, switch it on, quick configuration, and it's talking wirelessly to the web immediately. We want to demonstrate that all the plumbing's there so that you start to focus on the specifics of what you're interested in building, your kegerator or your quadcopter. So not only did we apply methodologies that we use in web-based development, but we also applied themes. And I'm sure a lot of these are going to be familiar to you guys here in this audience. Some of you coined these terms, it's cool to be talking about it here. Emergent behavior. So I read a book early in my career called Emergent by Stephen Johnson, and he's talking about areas where you see emergent behavior: social insects, ants, bees, cities, neurons, and on the web, software. So what does emergent behavior mean? Sorry, I'm trying to get there we go. It's bottom up versus top down. So we're trying to create taxonomies that are emergent instead of coming with a very dictatorial style. We want to see what patterns of behavior emerge naturally. But by creating a very extensible system for creation, we can just see what kinds of behavior emerge naturally. And that speaks to this whole concept of participation versus consumption. There was there was kind of this turning point in the web where we went from all just 2005, Web 2.0 was very much about this change from, just going to somewhat static sites where you can consume content, read, to, new tools and platforms for creating content yourself, blogging, and, becoming an active participant in the creation of the web as opposed to a consumer of content. And that's very much like the ethos that we're trying to breathe into Pinoccio. We want it to be a platform for creation. And what that means is, I'm very much inspired by biology. I'd like to see a long tail of the Internet of Things. I think there's niche applications that we, certainly Eric and I haven't thought of yet. I'm interested in using Pinocchio in my own ways, in beekeeping and bike computers and that type of thing. But we want to have a diversity of ideas, a diversity of usage emerge, as opposed to a monoculture, a dictatorial, top-down use cases that we're predefining. Oh, shoot. I overshot it. Well, the last one was, how do we do that? Is that you at the same time? Okay, no. Sorry. Yeah. Relinquish control. I want to control it. Yeah. Yeah, ironically. So how do we do that? We relinquish control. And on the web, that means, for Web 2.0, it meant relinquishing control of data, opening up APIs, letting people create mashups so that you could see new usage emerge that's unexpected and perhaps more interesting, a whole greater than the sum of its parts. It also means relinquishing control of, so it's not only usage, but data. We have this concept of you own your own data, we're not owners of it. There's this whole software component that we're building out on Pinoccio, and we want to be good stewards of that and build a useful layer, much like GitHub, where we're providing useful tools to interact with your own data, but it's essentially still yours. We're not hijacking your data and selling it back to you.
So as technologists, it's scary as hell to relinquish control. We like to control the chaos of the world around us. Engineers like to understand things, fix them, and then make them done. And so it kind of goes against a lot of natural concepts that I have in my mind around how to build this correctly. And so how this has played out is that, without going too deep in the technology that we're using for Pinocchio, is that we have aspects of this relinquishing of control built into the very core of Pinocchio. When you build a networked device, the product is more than just the hardware. It's also the software, it's also the network, it's also how it plays into the bigger world. Like what are the interfaces that this bubble of software and hardware has with other systems, other APIs, like the Twitter example, like what does that look like? That's part of the product still. It's not just, cool, I got this wireless device, it shoots out radio frequency and receives it. And so one choice we've made early on is to try specifically not to define a single protocol or API to use Pinocchio. And we've been contacted by several people who are like, will you help us design this protocol for the Internet of Things? And I'm not even sure what that means. I don't know what questions to ask to answer that question. I'm not sure there is one or there should be one. It goes against the concept of emergent behavior. If I knew what it was, that's all sorts of presumptuous, mindset that I obviously know what the future is going to be like and how it should be played out, or Sally knows how to design it on that side. We don't. We have no idea. The web didn't do that in the early 2000s and in the 1990s as well. You had Prodigy and CompuServe, and those are these really strange walled gardens that you thought that was the internet and the AOL. And then you went to Web 2.0 and you had RSS feeds. And you're like, great, I can just subscribe to whatever I want. And then here we are again, starting to feel a little bit like CompuServe and Prodigy and Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that. So how do we let the things emerge like Web 2.0 happened in the Internet of Things? And so in Pinocchio, the network stack, there's this kind of a message bus, if you will. It's this concept of, you can think of it as like a telephone line. Each Pinocchio can publish up to it, and it can also subscribe from various channels. So we like to use the description of ordering a pizza. The web works a lot of ways with your web browser. You request a URL, and it comes back to you on your browser, renders the page, and you get to see it. That's what we call request response in software engineering. It's a design pattern that's very common. There's another design pattern called publish subscribe, which you, instead of requesting something, you say, let me know when something happens on this channel or on this topic. We're using a publish subscribe model in Pinocchio, and it's opened up all these use cases that were really hard, especially for low power battery devices. So for the description we like to give is there's like a pizza you want to order, and if you called up and said, I want to order a pizza, they're like, cool, and you call up a minute later, is the pizza ready yet? No. Okay, I call up again. Is pizza ready yet? No. Like, there's all that transaction, all that stuff happening. So what the better model is why don't you call me when the pizza's ready, and then I will come and get it at that point. So I only have to get one more phone call. If you think of that in the context of radio frequency and battery usage, like, it's much more efficient. And so that's an emergent behavior. Like, let me know, and what's going to come in on that message when the phone call comes in? Don't know. We don't know what it's going to be. We don't want to decide that for everybody. We want to have this platform that actually allows the democratization of the Internet of Things to happen from you all. We just want to actually build a plumbing and get it out of the way, because it's really a pain in the ass right now to deal with when you're trying to sense for squatters, if you're going to build a homebrew automation system, or you're going to do quadcopters and swarm robotics and all these other things that people keep talking to us about. We challenge all of you to really think about letting go of the need to control, the Internet of Things, or the need to control the protocols. We do need some standardization, but really trust that the emergence of all that is actually going to, lead to a better product for everyone and a future that none of us can actually see yet. Thanks so much.